Hello and welcome back to the Jane Austen Literacy Foundation Community Chat. We are going to be talking about the first 4 episodes of Sanditon this evening, whatever time it is for you when you're watching. This is going to be kind of an ongoing series of Sanditon episodes that will be unrolling over the summer. I know someone did leave a comment and said, you only said you were watching season 1, and what about the other seasons? Don't worry, we'll be discussing those as well. We'll just take little breaks in between, and it's a lot of episodes to get through, so we'll go with the flow. Hang with us. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, like this video, and you can have all Sanditon all summer long. All right, we have got some things to talk about tonight. Mindy graciously, as always, made our presentation that we have, and we have bonus video clips for you to watch about some of the scenes that we'll be talking about. So bear with my technical skills. This is the first time that I've switched between them, but I think it's going to add a lot of fun so we can kind of like relive some of these little moments again that we've been watching. Some of them are too good not to keep rewatching. So thank you, Mindy, for taking the time to do that. I never know which direction if I'm mirrored or not. So we have Mindy and Marigold we're here with us tonight. I know we haven't done this in a while, and I'm going to put you both on the spot. If you want to give us a quick what you're reading this week or listening to, just to get back in the habit of doing that again, let us know. Marigold, we'll start off with you. What are you listening to / reading?
I actually am not listening or reading anything. So if anyone has suggestions, they can put it in the comments. I will take suggestions. I'd love to see what everyone else is reading so I can get some ideas because I love taking little snippets of what people post and put them on my TBR too. So anyone having suggestions, I'll take them.
I love that. Sometimes I feel like summer is the time, or not really. And are we summer? Can we officially kind of say it's summer now? Okay.
I think it's summer.
Um, it's like the time when you do find like little pockets of in between books because there's like a lot more going on, or you're like getting into outdoor things a little bit more. Like life just feels a little busier in the month of June. So I can appreciate a break in between books happening for you right now. And Mindy, what's going on in your world with audiobooks / reading regular physical copies?
Well, I am, you know how I love to support other indie authors. So right now I've been doing a couple of ebooks by a couple of my friends who are indie authors. And I actually have a recommendation for each of you because I know Melissa likes the romance and Marigold likes the cozies. So I just finished, it's kind of a short story. It's probably a novella, but by Lucy Day, and it is a romance, and it's You've Got This, Maggie Monroe. It was very quick and easy, and it was just really cute. So a nice, sweet romance that you could probably zip through in a day, no problem. Sweet, clean romance, by the way. And then the other one is Hazel Smith's Twisted Wedding. And that is what I'm reading right now. And that is a cozy mystery. And it's very interesting. It is set in Scotland. So I love that sort of thing. And I think you would really enjoy it, Marigold. And it's another one of those that's an easy breezy summer read.
Ooh, I'm putting it on my list now.
I
Excellent.
have seen a lot of her books. I believe she has a few series, and she's really popular. With a lot of
Yes.
authors I work with for cozy that are adjacent to her. So yeah,
Yes. And I actually think this series that I'm reading, this is the first book, or maybe it's even technically the prequel. And I think there might be, oh gosh, I don't know, 7 or 10 or something. It's a huge series. So you're right, Melissa.
perfect. Well, there you go. You've already got started with your list for reading. All right. And I just downloaded. You guys are going to be surprised. I started an audiobook because I'm doing my walking. I thought I'm going to find an audiobook. And I was on a call with a client today, and she gave me a recommendation. It was nonfiction. So it's like perfect because I only do nonfiction for my audiobooks. So I would start something new. And it is called This Is Where You Belong: The Art and Science of Loving the Place You Live. It's really interesting. It's written by a journalist, and it says that the average American that moves from away from where they live moves an average of 11.4 times in their lifetime, which I found that really surprising. So I feel like there's going to be like people that never move and then people that move like a billion times, and I fit into the billion times moved categories. We moved 5 states in 8 years. So we were talking about the difficulties. I know a lot of people can sympathize of moving when you're an adult and trying to find connections with people. And we moved to where we currently live at the beginning of COVID, and it's been really, I have everyone in my online community of friends that I feel really close to, but it's nice to have people in person to chat with. Um, so yeah, she said, "Oh, you have to check out this book. It's really good about like loving where you live, even if it's not your ideal place to live, and finding a way to make it home." So so far it's really good. I will report back later and let you know. And she also has one other book kind of around that sense of like creating your own space and home wherever you end up at, which is a topic I never really thought of writing books about, but it's interesting that she just turned them into a few. So I will share more about that in the days to come. All right, let's get
Excellent.
to Sanditon. We've got a lot to talk about. So we watched episodes 1 through 4 this week, and we said yes, everybody's watched. I missed the like last 3 minutes of episode 4. Mindy caught me up. So I'm all good on that now. Um did you Marigold, I was gonna ask you, where did you end up finding your episodes to watch at? Because we were having a bit of a text thread discussion.
I decided to help and sponsor PBS
Oh,
because they need it, and I wanna watch all the new shows coming up, so I put the bill it and I just did the $60 for the whole year, and I'm
Oh,
going to enjoy all of PBS and hopefully help them because they really need it this year.
yes. Yeah, I ended mine a little bit ago, and I keep thinking I need to re-up it because it's really so little that if it's $5 to help sponsor them, and you get so many shows to watch for that $5. And I do like that it goes to your local.
mhm.
PBS is the one that you're giving it to. So
Definitely.
um
Plus there's so many, like, mysteries that I guess I missed
yes.
through watching live, so I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna catch up. This is fabulous."
Love it. And for anyone not in the US that's watching, that's just public broadcast services. I think that's the
I think so.
acronym for it. Um, it's their public TV and it's sponsored. So I'm sure that there's similar versions in other countries that you can get as well. All right, what is happening this week in Jane Austen's life? This was I thought, a really interesting one. In 1790, Jane Austen finishes Love and Friendship. And yes, it is spelled like that. And my spell check was fighting me every little bit of the way. As I was ready, even my brain was like scrambled because I'm like, okay, if I'm not trying, I spell friendship wrong. But now that I'm not trying, I want to spell it the other way. Um, I think we'll probably not probably we will definitely be watching and reading through this at some point later. It might be post Sanditon that we can champion um, that movie a little bit. All right, we have our episode recap. So Mindy, do you want to kick us off with episodes 1 and 2 and let us know what was going on?
You bet. In episode 1, we have a chance encounter brings Charlotte Haywood to the developing seaside resort of Sanditon. And in episode 2, Charlotte attends an elaborate luncheon and has an awkward confrontation with Sydney.
Yes, it was awkward. Marigold, do you want to walk us through the next 2 episodes?
Episode 3, Charlotte does all she can to avoid Sydney, which is very difficult, and Tom finds a doctor for the town. Episode 4, Charlotte and Sydney clash over Miss Lamb, and Charlotte strikes up a new friendship.
I was going to say episode 3. Does she do all she can to avoid him? Because, like you said, it really does feel like it's a very tiny town only for Charlotte and Sydney.
And a little hard when you live in his brother's house.
Right. Absolutely. All right. We've got, oh dear, here goes my skills. I'm already stressing out. We've got our first clip here, just a little bit to show you what was going on. So,
Well,
Mr. Parker, the way she talks in these episodes, just she's such a when we were talking about like comparing, did they take characters from other shows and kind of give us, she definitely gives me a Lady Catherine Fields. Anybody else picking up that vibe?
absolutely.
I wanted to make sure to throw this in here with the Mr. Parker and all three of them turn, because one of the things I picked up while reading about Sam is that originally Jane Austen had named this book The Brothers.
Mm. Oh,
Oh,
that's a great thing to point
And
out. So
Yeah, so this time as I've been watching it, I've really been trying to pay attention to how often we get the three of them together and how they interact and how different they all are. Because I think that that's something that Jane Austen would have spent some time developing, all
Mm,
three of them, and kind of playing into their relationship with one another.
absolutely. And it kind of makes me think of it in terms of Pride and Prejudice when we have the sisters that are all so different. And, we all think of this, I think, sometimes in our own families. I'm like, how did me and my siblings grow up in the same house? Like, we're all so insanely different from each other. And clearly, obviously, this is not all Jane Austen's work, but they really held on to the idea of when she was writing families, everyone is different. They're not cookie cutter, all of the same mind, sort of people in that. Out of the three brothers, does anybody have a favorite that, like, just personality wise, you kind of would want to see a little more of them?
I
I,
enjoyed. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I feel like this is a trick question. Go
It's
ahead.
not, I swear. Not hotness. We're not ranking hotness here. It's just like who would be personality wise. Would you want to see the story follow a little bit more? Because personally, I think Arthur is adorable, and I want to see more Arthur. Like, give
That's
him a
what I was
spin
gonna
off.
say.
Yeah,
I just enjoy his um always feeling like he's sick. I love the part where he is like, um, it's amazing how I drink a glass of wine in the morning and I feel better. And then after two, it's even better.
yeah, like that doesn't bother him, but getting sunstroke is like gonna be the death of him. You're like the wine's
Um,
okay, but the sunstroke, like
and
from activity.
that sister was like, I forbid you to do any exercise ever. It's like, okay. I love the when the doctor takes a drink. He's like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
it's gonna be a long year dealing with the two of them. You don't have to feel pressed to answer if you don't want, Mindy, or you could just give us an answer. Tell us if you want.
No, you know what? I'm with you both completely. I love Arthur Parker's character. I think that there's so much depth to him that could be mined because he has those
Yeah.
contradictions in his personality, right? Where it's like he is so much fun and outgoing, and he's the one who asks Miss Lamb to dance and tries to pull her out of her shell. But at the same time, there will be no exercise. Like
Right.
that's not happening.
Right.
And so I just think he's adorable, and I would love to see when we talk about maybe rolling out a spinoff. I think Arthur Parker would, and Diana, of course, have them
Mm,
together a little bit, but
yeah.
just let them do their own thing outside of Sanditon. I think that would be a lot of fun.
I was thinking too about we have the Mrs. Bennet character who's like her nerves all the time and always going on. And um with his sister being so always like something's wrong, and like, oh, I have like aches and pains, and the doctor's even like, oh, I haven't seen anything. Oh, and you just can't see it yet. Like it's coming. You just
I
can't see the symptoms. And I this is generalized, so please don't hold me to this, but I feel like I've seen it alluded to that there might be some thoughts that Jane Austen's mother had some similar vibes. Has anybody read that
Mm.
before? Um,
I've read that in several different
okay.
books, and but honestly, I cannot remember if they were nonfiction or if they were fiction.
Right, right.
So
So
I'm
I
not
I'll have
sure
to
how
do some
true.
digging into
Yeah.
that. I feel like it was nonfiction that I read it, but it would kind of be interesting to look at and see, is that why some of these characters, like, it does pop up in some of these characters that we see in her books a little pretty frequently, that there's somebody that's like a tad uh, with the hysterics when it comes to their health.
bit dramatic.
Yes. All right. What did you love? There's so much to love. So, what are some of your guys' highlights?
Why don't you both go first? Because I think I've got a slide that has mine on it next. So
Go
Let's see.
ahead. Go ahead, Maribel.
Okay. I put actually a lot to love. I love the nods to the other Jane Austen writing. I love finding them. I don't think I noticed them when I first watched it, but after we spoke about it last week, now I can just find them everywhere. And I was like, oh, this goes to this one. I also love the clothes and I really enjoy the humor.
Yes. I always love the clothes. That's always like a highlight for me when watching period dramas. And I have to say, I do kind of enjoy the aspect of it's Austen, but it's not the same as all the others. Because clearly it's just them taking her story. But it feels fun to see that there was a spark of something and somewhere that she was going with this story and these characters and where they're continuing. And like kind of like you said, I enjoy seeing like the nods back to her other characters throughout these stories. And it does feel like obviously it's Sanditon. Everything great happens in Sanditon. It's the best place in the world to be, but it does feel fresh in its setting compared to, you know, beautiful pastures or, the ballroom. Like there's something about the seaside that just feels fun, fresh, seasidey, sand in my toes kind of feeling that I enjoy about Sanderson episodes.
I agree.
Mindy, you need me to go to the next slide for
I
yours?
think so. Yes. I feel like yes. Okay. So one of the things we always talk about tropes that we love, and one of my favorites is the love triangle. I love to write it. I love to read it. And so having it here in Sanditon, I just think it feels like so much fun. And in this instance, I feel why it works so well is because James Stringer looks at Charlotte the way I think everybody wants a man to look at them, where she's hung the moon and stars.
Mm-hmm.
From the very beginning, as soon as she opens her mouth, he has respect for her and he values what she has to say, and you can sort of feel that emanating from him. But then of course we have Sydney Parker, who for kind of inexplicable reasons Charlotte wants to impress him, right? She
Mm-hmm.
from her beginning with him, she wants to be someone he respects. So we have her kind of striving to be this person who will make an impression on him, while we have Mr. Stringer doing that on the other end as well. And I feel like that's what makes this love triangle work, is that she could really pick either one of them. And I know definitely this is something when we talk to fans of the show, they say, oh, I wish she would have done this, or I wish she would have done that. But I love this about this show. I love this love triangle. And I'd love to know what you two think about it.
Marigold, do you have any thoughts?
Um, it's hard because like I remember when we watched the first time and thinking like, okay, enough of Stringer. We want we want Mr. Sydney Parker. But watching it now, again, I don't know if it's again because you've changed or I'm older or you feel like just don't waste your time with Parker. Like this guy Stringer like cares, he listens when he says that she has an opinions. It wasn't like wow, you have opinions. It was like, oh, you're sure of yourself, you have opinions. He was like validating it. So I'm like, uh, he's just yeah, you're looking for someone like that. Just go that way.
It's funny because you talk about like, so you and I, it's been years since we watched. Mindy is a frequent rewatcher of Sanditon. It's her comfort show. So you and I are very much seeing this Marigold through kind of like fresh lens with a hint of we remember. And I really feel the same. Like Sydney to me is coming across so harsh. He's almost off-putting to me this time around. Whereas like, yes, he's very good looking. So in that sense, you're like, I see, girl, why you're going for him. But he just is not. I feel like it's really hard. And it could be our perception of knowing that he's not continuing on for the other seasons,
Yeah.
I think, that's tainting it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so hard to get that like Mr. Darcy abruptness without it going over into the jerk sort of spectrum of
Mm-hmm.
how he's talking to her. And I think oftentimes when we see, not to be comparing them too much, but when we see Mr. Darcy being rough about his judgments or what he's saying, other than he doesn't want to dance with anybody, um, there's oftentimes like ulterior motive behind it of how he thinks he's doing good, even though it's like not coming across as the right thing, or he thinks he's morally being the better person because of it. Like there's some deeper happenings that are underneath. Whereas with this, the layers of Sydney just don't feel like they're there. And maybe that's just because we're rushing through the watching and, or something. But I just feel like when he's so rough of like, well, you just say your opinion. Well, there's no like
It's
kindness behind it, or what's the other motive? And yes, it's probably tainted because I'm mad at him for not coming back.
I think it's more like the opposite of show, not tell. I feel like they tell more than
Okay.
show. I remember at the beginning that Miss Parker was telling how he's so kind-hearted and she's like talking him up, but we don't really show that. Whereas there
Yeah.
is a part where he snaps at his brother and then kind of like thinks about what Charlotte said and then reacts and is like, okay, stop. And he goes and it's like, okay, I'll help you. So you
Right.
can kind of see it, but that's like the only thing I remember seeing that. So they showing him changing that part aspect, whereas it more of it feels like they're just keep talking about, oh, he's nice. He does help.
I think that's a brilliant observation, Marigold, that, we get these, like, from the very beginning, we know that Darcy is like a friend of Bingley. So that gives him like social proof that, like, well, he can't be a bad guy if he's friends with Bingley because Bingley's super nice. And like, we get these other elements where with Sydney, they didn't develop the character enough. And we probably would have seen that as it continued on. So our opinion would change. We're only 4 episodes in as well. But, I was struck at how differently I feel about him this time around. Mindy, do you have any advice for us?
No, I think you both hit the nail right on the head with Sydney in that in the beginning of these episodes, in the ones that we just watched, episodes 1 through 4, there are things that he says to Charlotte that are cruel.
Mm,
When he says to her, well, I don't think of you at all, so my opinion of you doesn't matter. And I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but that's the truth. And it's like, it's an unnecessary thing
mm,
to say.
right.
And when you even when we're talking about other characters who Jane Austen wrote, nobody is that mean just to be mean.
Right.
Just to be
And it's a guest of
off-putting.
your family as well. Like, you
Yeah.
wouldn't treat a guest that way.
Yeah.
As a gentleman,
Right.
I think he says things that are so just ungentlemanly,
Right.
for no apparent reason. And even and we kind of talked about this last week when we were looking at what Jane Austen wrote in the book when she introduced Mr. Sidney Parker. He was very polite and he struck Charlotte as being an amiable man. And then when we see him in the series, they definitely went the other way with him. So I would love to talk to someone who was involved with the show and ask, why did you do that? Why
Yeah.
did you change him?
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like they definitely went hard on the like tall, dark, and brooding, and he's a little too brooding.
Yeah,
Because even there was like a way when, he asks her opinion, and she, like, obviously she says way more than what's polite for her to say. And it felt like there was a way for him that he could have been defending his family, which he does a little bit, but not just be so harsh. And I think that's a hard thing with romance books, to like put someone on the edge, because you do want them to have that growth journey, but
hmm
not push it into the like, well, how are you going to redeem yourself because you just appear like such a jerk? I don't care now.
yeah.
How much you're going to change. Okay, we're only on slide 6, and I'm totally holding us up because we're going to take way too long for
Fine.
this. All right.
I
Let,
I had to throw this one in here because it was part of my things that I loved. When he just looks at her and says, "I wouldn't wish for you to change, not for the world." I think that that's a very common thing that all people, not just women, all people would love to hear that, right?
absolutely.
Absolutely.
I know this when Marigold was cheering, choose him, choose him. All right, what surprised you? Do you have a slide for this, Marigold? Or Mindy, I mean. Sorry.
I can't remember. I don't think so.
Okay,
No.
no, I think we're good. All right, we'll start with you. What surprised you?
Well, because I'm watching it again and I'm trying to do it with fresh eyes here, trying, right? But something that surprised me is that I remember both Esther Denham and Claire Brereton kind of going at each other in a catty sort of way. But I forgot, or maybe I misinterpreted the scene where Clara pushes Esther and then Esther runs out of the house and Clara follows her, but then she becomes almost a softer version of herself as they're having a conversation, and she reveals a little bit about her past abuse, and then she says, "Oh, you're in love with him? You have got to get out of this," and she does it almost kindly, where she's like,
Yeah.
"Here's some advice. You need to break off your feelings for him right now and move on." And so it sort of surprised me this time around, because I didn't remember Clara Brereton being kind at all, at least as far as Esther was concerned.
Yeah. She's still a girl's girl. Like, she's helping her and warning her off, which, because they've both had a hard life. Like, they've been through a ton of stuff. And so yeah, that's a great point that she's still, even after all they're doing to each other, even they're so antagonizing towards each other. And she still, once that light bulb moment hits, it's like, pick the better path for yourself.
Hmm.
Marigold, what surprised you?
I think I had 2. One was the surprise at the sea bathing. I remember that the women had to be fully covered, but I was surprised the men didn't have to be any covered. So I was
Yeah,
like, "That's kinda unfair." We should have, covered up a bit. I would have
it
assumed
always
they would
is.
have the breeches on.
uh,
And then
Anything else?
the pleasant surprise was on season 2. I mean, episode 2, when someone comes out of the water.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that shortly. I think. I'm pretty sure there's a spot for it when we show it. Yeah. Yeah, I think I was just surprised this time watching with how many little nods they made to kind of other characters or Austen, little tidbits in there. I didn't remember catching them as much the first time around. This time I appreciated them a little bit more.
Absolutely.
What could you have done without who these two? The looks they give are so vicious.
It wasn't until after I made this slide and I put the two of them on there that I realized I was sort of leading. Um, because for me, I could do without the sexual tension between Edward and Esther. I still think that their storyline is so rich. There are so many ways, and they could even still be really close to one
Mhm.
another. Um, I could have just done without all of the chemistry that bubbled over between them. That doesn't work for me.
It's especially shocking when it's like as it's happening and you're like, wait, what is going on here until you get like the full context. It's a bit I don't yeah, I think I can totally see how like their story works and it does feel very much like Mansfield Park a little bit situation, but you're adding all of that is not it wasn't necessary to the story. We could have it taken out. Marigold, was there anything that you could have done without?
I couldn't find anything else. I felt the same about them. It was a little gives you a little creepy feeling until you figure out
Yeah,
like, "Oh, okay."
yeah.
'Cause I'm like, "Ew, ew, ew."
I had something else I wanted to point out and see if you guys caught on to it. And this maybe because we were watching it to talk about, I feel like hyper aware of things that are happening. But they really did a lot of camera work focusing on Charlotte's face, and she has these like expressions that are so I feel almost like stage expressions if you were in a play and it's so
Mhm.
like almost operatic and like over the topness. And I think there's like someone I would just wanted to be like, stop it, Charlotte. Like I love her character, but it was like they were trying to express her naivety, her like wonder, her like I don't understand what's happening, and her face was so scrunched up.
Mhm.
Did anybody else get that?
I didn't notice it, but my husband did. He was
Oh,
watching
okay.
yeah, he was
Cool.
watching an episode with me, and he's like, "Why does she keep spinning like that?" I said, "Well, she's outside and it's sunny." And he's like, "No, no, watch her when she goes inside too." It's like because she's thinking hard and she's doing that whole trying to analyze people's personalities, she's
Yeah,
constantly like
yeah,
scrunching and it was I'm glad you mentioned it because I thought, "Oh, maybe I'm the only one who noticed it now that he pointed out, but you did too." So great.
yeah, yeah. It felt like um I don't know if maybe, that's the direction that they told her to take because they were these very like close up shots when they did it. And it was like they wanted to express through that because I would notice that it'd often be scenes where you would hear the other person talking. So it wasn't even her talking, but it was giving us this very close up of her being like trying to figure out what's going on. And I feel like sometimes you watch something and once you latch onto it, then you keep seeing it over and over. So that's probably just your husband and I were like hyper fixated on her scrunched up facial expressions.
Well, it's funny because now you say it, I think of the part at the end when she's arguing with Sydney and her face is so sharp, like like sharp edges. And
Mhm.
that's what just came out to me. And it's actually what else I would do without it just dawned on me because I think that you're trying to show how she's so young and immature that that way she can grow. But the part I know it comes out later, but when she sees Sydney in the cove and then she runs away, I didn't like that she runs away. There's like you could have give her a little bit more dignity. She could walk fast, but that running was so juvenile that I was like,
Mm,
I know they're trying to show that she's young, but I'm like, okay, you could have some pride and just walk like, briskly away.
right,
I did not
right.
care for the running.
All right. If you could change a part, what would you do differently?
Oh,
I don't
sorry.
think
That was
anything
my
though.
part.
Oh,
Well, and I'm glad you both talked about Charlotte's, naivety, right? Because that's actually something that I wrote down as my if I could do something differently.
oh,
It's at the very end of episode 4 when after she's had the confrontation with Sydney and she's just so angry with him and she races back to see Georgiana and she says she's going to defy Sydney Parker and
mm,
that's why she volunteers to help work as a go-between for Miss Lamb and Mr. Molyneux. And if it were me and I could do that part differently, I would have Charlotte say she wants to help her friend because they're friends
right,
and because she could see the love between them, not because she wanted to tick off Sydney.
Yeah.
right.
So
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. There's a bit. They made her a little more immature. If and this is just us picking it apart as TV critics, Jane Austen critics. Yeah, it doesn't mean that we think any less of the show. I just want to make that clear when we're like talking about these little bits. It's just if we were changing things up or things that we noticed along the way. Marigold, did you have anything? I think Mickey
Mine's
kind
the
of summed it.
same. It's just
Yeah.
that immature, like, I think there was other ways, like her hair, having it, like, down and be free, like we talked about last week, and then having it up when she's, like, as she gets more mature. There are things of that they can put in to make her feel like mature, but these little
Mm,
moments that she just is too childlike, it just I think it takes away.
yeah. The other there's one other thing that stood out to me a little bit when they're like, oh, you must be here to find a husband or whatever, and she's like, oh no, I have no plans, and I was like, I feel like any young woman in that, like, she could have, maybe she's not actively husband hunting, but she could have said, if love happens, it happens, but I'm here to have fun or something, not
Yeah.
just like, no, no way, gross, yuck. Like, that was like another way that it felt like she was a bit like immature-ish about the situation. Like,
Plus, I kept thinking it was like she does protest too much.
maybe that was the point that they were trying to make too, that she's like, nope, nope, gross, don't avoid.
Well, and of course, I'm not going to spoil it for either of you because I'm guessing you probably don't remember, but there are things going on back in her hometown that,
Okay, don't.
like I said, I don't want to
Mm.
spoil because I'm
Don't spoil
guessing you
for us
both
then.
don't remember.
I do not remember.
But there are things going on back in Willingdon, outside of her family that do relate to marriage. And so you have to look at this 22-year-old woman who is in the book, she's one of 14, but in this, I think they said she was one of 11.
Yeah.
Either
I feel
way, they
you
would
know
be
what?
looking for her to marry well, you
Yeah.
know. So, and she's got things happening back there that do have to concern marriage. So you really have to wonder in that scene at Lady Denham's where she's talking about, oh, no, 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 I couldn't get married. I don't want to get married. Really?
Right. Right. And I need to ask someone, why could they not have allowed it to stay the same amount of children? Why did we have to change that in the show versus the book? Like, it's one of the few little things that we do have. All right. Favorite scene. Should I just play it?
Yes.
Okay. I think where is it at? Okay.
I think I might.
I got
Oh,
it.
okay.
And we have Theo. Marigold. Crack me up.
You got your fan over there.
There's so many good scenes in this the first 4 episodes so far, but obviously an iconic moment. You know, we've got Darcy coming out of the lake, Bridgerton. We have him coming out of another lake in season 2. I think anyone that watches Bridgerton, and Sanditon has its ocean moment. Nowhere else can claim an ocean moment like Sanditon can. So there's your fill of Theo for the day. Sanditon and his look. He's probably gonna scold us for something, though. I feel
I know.
like.
I did
Mindy, you wanna
a
go first?
For those of you who participated, thank you for weighing in and giving us your opinion. These are not our favorites, but they are some of those that we collected from the Jane Austen fan club group on Facebook. So, 33%, 33.3, excuse me, said when Sydney says it is conceivable that we've had each other wrong. It's not quite an apology to Charlotte, but it is sweet. Another 33.3% is one of the initial solitary meetings that Charlotte has with Esther Denham. And Esther's talking about really how she hates being in Sanditon. And she says if she can't get rid of Clara Brereton soon, she will poison her.
I love that one. It's so good.
I do too. She's great, isn't she? Uh, and then the others were all about 11.1%. People said they enjoyed when Sydney was sea bathing. Arthur Parker dancing with Miss Lamb was just so cute. And then, of course, the scene that we all enjoyed as well, post luncheon, when Lady Denham scolds Mr. Parker because of the way his brother had the effrontery to handle her pineapple.
I
So
love that
good.
scene. I could watch it on repeat. Is there
Exactly.
time for me to
True.
show that scene yet?
Yeah, go ahead. That would be great.
The way she looks at him. It almost made me want to gag watching you cut it open. Oh, Arthur. Oh. Oh my goodness. All right. The poor pineapple.
I know.
I enjoy this scene not just for, Esther Denham and her sort of, I believe they call her deliciously disdainful later. Such a wonderful description of her. But I know we always talk about the costuming, but look at her fashion. That
Gorgeous.
hat, oh my goodness. If I could buy that hat, I would get one for all three of us so we could wear it because it's amazing. I
I
love it.
And you have to have the coat and the collar. Like, you can't wear the hat without that to pair with it. I
Yes.
absolutely.
really love the earrings too. Like, there's so many good earrings in these episodes.
I also think since we're talking about it, I also noticed it during the dance, or the ball, how it's interesting how she was in black, Clara was in gray, and then Charlotte was in white. It's like the kind of how the innocence or through life. I was like, this could not be a mistake.
Only when you studied literary criticism would you be pointing that out, Marigold. Well done.
Marigold, this is one of your favorites.
I love it. An heiress with 100,000 pounds must be in want of a husband.
I
That
mean,
sounds so familiar.
we get a little bit of a twist from Pride and Prejudice, but she is so opinionated, Lady Denham. She has some very strong thoughts, and I think they really captured her spirit well. Mindy, you did a good job with the picture that you grabbed of her right here and the
Thank
look
you.
on her face.
Definitely. Which I find funny that she has such an interesting, not happy with Charlotte with her opinions, but she can be so opinionated.
Yes.
Absolutely. Do I have one for this?
Yes, it's the second one over. Post on my screen. It
There
is.
you go.
There we go. This is such a fun scene because this is the first time that Sydney acknowledges there's anything good about Charlotte at all. It's after she helped with Old Stringer and the medical emergency. And then in this moment right here, he's saying, "Oh, I'm sorry if it embarrassed you yesterday when you saw me coming out of the water." And she's like, "Well, why would I be embarrassed? I was fully clothed." I just thought this was a great moment, but it's really the first great, cute moment we get between the two of them. And that's why I think it deserves a place here.
I agree.
I think it like almost like it took them a little bit of time to find their stride with the characters because like that line is such a like Lizzie Bennett cheeky kind of line, but it doesn't fit what we feel in the previous episodes of her kind of being so immature-ish. Like with like Marigold pointed out, running away from seeing him to then having like such a good comeback line, it feels like they had a difficult job to do with trying to find her place in like how much of the world does she understand, or how do we represent her as being young and having to have a big growth story arc over time. um I'm interested to see as we go through the rest of the episodes, Marigold, how we start to feel about her. If we like really start to feel like, okay, they found Charlotte now and we see her, and then as we get to see her in a few more seasons after Sydney's gone, how we feel about her story then as well.
She'll only mature more, so hopefully.
But also, I think we talked about this the other day. Even in just this first season, I think of the 8 episodes, there were 4 different writers.
Oh wow, okay.
Lead writers. Andrew Davies wrote the first 3, and then the last one. So he wrote 1, 2, 3, 8. And then we know Andrea Gibb, I feel like she wrote 5. I think she said that in her interview with Caroline.
Mhm.
And I feel like I read it that they had, several others. So when you have 4 people contributing in one season, and it's not a writer's room situation, it's you
Right.
have this, you have this, you can see where you might have a different voice coming at it.
Thank you for reminding us of that. That makes a lot of sense.
Definitely.
All right, we're getting there. Oh, we have
This is the last video, but just because I love seeing that face.
that eye roll. He's over it.
The ubiquitous Miss Haywood.
Oh, we made it through. Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. I'm really looking forward to watching our next set of episodes to discuss next week as well. It's going to be a lively summer with our Sanditon watching. And let us know down in the comments if you want us to save an episode maybe for like a watch along party. That would be fun if we wanted to do that, maybe like season finales as we're going through them. Let us know anything that you would like to see from us or that you would like us to discuss about them. Just a reminder that our May book club, where we read Longbourn, we are going to be meeting this Saturday. That came up really quickly. I'm super excited for us to discuss this. And of course, we can discuss Sanditon there as well for anyone that's been watching, or basically anything Jane Austen that you would like to talk about. We are happy to oblige. And then for our June book club, we are reading Austenland. We will definitely be watching Austenland as well. So we will do a watch party of that. And that might creep into an episode that we discuss here as well. We'll do a little crossover and maybe chat about how closely the book mirrors the movie and any differences that we see between the two. So that would be a bit of fun as well. And do not forget to join us next week for episodes 5 through 8 of Sanditon. As I said in the beginning, go ahead and click the subscribe. It really helps us. And we are getting so close on our journey to 1,000 subscribers, which is super exciting to see the YouTube channel growing. And I will also have down in the description box a link to our community. So if you'd like to join us even further and participate in the community meetups, it does help go towards the literacy programs that we support. So we would love to see you over there as well. Whew, that was a lot, ladies. We made it through 4 episodes though, and we'll be looking forward to next. And Mindy, no storms. We made it through without any Florida storms coming through. Awesome. Well, everyone have a great week of watching some Jane Austen shows, reading. Let us know. Don't forget to give Marigold some of your favorite reading recommendations so she can add to her TBR. And we will see you again next week. Take care and bye.
Bye.